Today's topic is about attention, distraction, and the war that's happening in your brain. I know all of us are suffering these problems, right? We are all going through this whole thing about thinking about how do I get that laser focus. I'm sure you must have heard this from all the speakers, motivational speakers, those who talk about you got to build the laser focus to get your goals and make it reality, right? Now, what if I tell you your brain cannot laser focus? What exactly happens in your brain is it's more like a spotlight. It comes and goes, it dims, and suddenly it'll kind of like be there on your face. So it's more like a spotlight. All of us and our brain is not able to multitask. That's a heartbreaking news for you, because a lot of people ask me this question: how do I multitask? Well, your brain cannot. So it's a myth. You cannot multitask. You can only focus on one thing at a time. Now, what happens is in your space, there are, in a second, when you're doing some work and you're focused, in 1 second, your brain gets distracted 4 times. There's a research conducted on humans that concludes our ability to focus is designed to work in bursts of attention rather than uninterrupted. So what happens is, for instance, while it may seem that you are continuously focusing on this conversation with me right now, the reality is you're zooming in and zooming out, and it can actually do this for 4 times per second. During those periods of distraction, the brain pauses and scans the environment to see if there is something outside the primary focus of attention that might be more important. If there is not, it refocuses back to what you were doing. As simple as that. The brain cannot process everything in the environment. There's a 40,000 bits of data it's taking every single moment. Whatever you seem like, consciously you may be looking at something, but right now, even if you're watching this video or you're listening to this podcast, there is so much happening in your environment that all your five senses are plugged into that environment to take that information. It is develops those filtering processes that allow it to focus more on some information at the expense of other information. So multitasking, not at all. Your brain cannot do it. So, why does our brain make us go through attention pauses or pulses like this at such a fast rate? The researchers suggest that it corresponds to the evolutionary biology, evolutionary advantages. Millions of years back, when there was the time when the life was more dangerous, when there were predators around and we were the prey to them, you would have to constantly be on the lookout. You would want to always be aware if there was something around you with bigger teeth that's going to attack you and eat you up. In modern life, this particular feature of the brain allows us to realize, to pause. For instance, suppose you're crossing the road and that car is coming as you're crossing the street. Our spotlight of attention, in this sense, has been and still is the key to our survival. It gives you the ability to gauge. Otherwise, you will stand on the cliff and you will just jump if it doesn't tell you to stop, isn't it? There's a reason. It's the mechanism, the same process is still there in your brain. Now, the point here is, how do you get more attention on your goals? To understand this, the space and time in your innermost dominant thought, okay, the space and time that you spend on your innermost dominant thoughts becomes your outermost tangible reality. Now, all of us have got unconscious priorities. What do I mean by that? There's an internal map in parietal lobe of your brain, at the back of the brain, that helps you to attend to the world and focus on them. It also holds your perception. The way you think about yourself and the way you think about the world designs and determines where you'll focus on. Our brain has got two kinds of focuses. One is convergent focus, and the other is divergent focus. Convergent focus is all about looking at what's my next step. What do I need to do right now? How do I take care of this problem right now? And the divergent focus that human brain has is to look at the bigger picture of life. So if you're setting your goals and if you're not able to achieve them, most likely your brain is only using the convergent focus, that what do I need to do right now? You're all the time in the firefighting zone. And that could be happening because of your unconscious priorities. Your basic needs. That doesn't mean your food, shelter, and clothes. Your unconscious priority could be anything. It could be like, your relationship at the cost of your health, your career at the cost of your relationship. If you have certain things going on in your space, whatever fulfills your unconscious priority, your brain is going to focus on that naturally. It's your brain's perception, the way you look at things. Your parietal lobe is going to make the decision for you to focus on what's important right now. And now achieving goals for some people, it could be changing life, maybe may seem like a traumatic process. And if you achieve that goal or that desired result, it's a possibility that you may lose something or somebody, and that's emotionally hurtful, painful. Now loss is a bigger threat for the human brain. You don't like to lose anything. Think about it. If you lose your keys, don't you go find them? The bigger thing is you lose your weight, don't you go find them? Most people go and get that weight back or more than that. We humans fear loss because it goes back to the straight millions of years back. What if I don't get this? What if I lose my life? What if I don't get food? Things like that. And it's so deeply ingrained and wired in our system that we hate loss. And if you are achieving your goal, that means you're creating a new life for yourself. It's also end of your old life. You're going to lose some parts of your life when you develop a better life. And that is if something is a painful reality for you, your brain perceives that it's not something that's matching my unconscious priorities. You're going to get distracted. You're going to create that fear, resistance, and self-doubt, anxiety, worry, procrastination, perfectionism, all of these symptoms, just to get distracted so that you are not on track. Now what happens when you get distracted is your brain is having the mechanism of it has got a predictive intelligence. It's constantly predicting the next move based on the sensory inputs it's getting. In a brain engaged in predictive processing, unexpected external events will judge. Sorry, my phone just rang. So I'll go back to this predictive processing. Yeah. So, your brain. So, So, why do you get distracted? You get distracted because your brain is constantly predicting the next move based on sensory inputs. In a brain engaged in predictive processing, unexpected external events will generate large prediction errors. And that needs to be explained. And that's the reason the distraction is very possible, because you're focusing on those errors, what's happening, what's going on. It means your brain perceives a constant threat. It's going to focus more outward than inward. And you want to achieve your goals, you want to pay attention to what you want to focus on to create a better life. And if your attention is outside, not inside, it's not going to happen. It's going through stress every time. It's scanning the environment and the impulses that triggers the stress responses. In such case, brain will you know in such case the brain is going to go into fatigue mode. Have you heard of decision fatigue? That happens because your brain is constantly focusing on outside. And it goes into the rest mode then once it goes into the fatigue. But due to this constant stimuli, it won't go into complete rest as well. So there's regeneration, there's repair, there is healing that happens during the rest. That won't happen. The unrestful sleep is only going to pile up the next situation, and it's going to add up to the distraction because it is going to release adrenaline and cortisol. It's going to create the imbalance in your homeostasis. Ideally, when you rest well, your brain releases happy hormones. And these happy hormones are the repair hormones that gives you the ability to then focus. And then what happens when there's too much adrenaline and cortisol in your body? You get distractions like junk food, sugar, porn, social media, all the OTT platforms, toxic relationships, toxic work environment, these all become your addictions. The dopamine that is released by these addictions make you momentarily feel good, but it doesn't help you to achieve the bigger level of success. It's as if in your brain there are two parts. Like, can imagine this as a two horses tied to a chariot. One wants to go on the right side, one wants to go on the left side, and they both are equally powerful. Now what's going to happen? One wants to go on the right, wants to go on the left. The chariot is not going to move, and the worst case scenario, it's going to break apart. And that's where most of our people you will see are all the time distracted. It's difficult to stay focused. So then how do you overcome this war? The first thing that I want you to do is delay the gratification. There was this marshmallow experiment which was done, which suggests that, if you delay the gratification, if you delay the reward, you start training your brain to overcome distraction. The second thing that you can do for yourself is every single day when you wake up in the morning, write your goals. Write, not read them, but write them. The third thing that you can do for yourself is starting your day right, following a certain routine the first 1 hour of your wake up. Doesn't matter what time you wake up, whether you wake up at 5 a.m. or you wake up at 11 a.m. or you wake up at 3 p.m. The first 1 hour, and most importantly the first 20 minutes of what you do is very, very critical. The fourth thing that I want you to do to win this war is sleeping and waking up on the same time every single day. Fifth is staying in discipline and not giving yourself even a day's excuse till you have developed the discipline of staying in line. The sixth thing that I want you to do is always keep inspiring objects, books, people around you, because we are the product of our environment. Our environment is more powerful than our willpower, and it will give you those inputs. It'll calm your brain that makes you feel threatened, and it'll give you the power to release the happy hormones more. And the seventh and the most important step is, remember, it's not a 1 day process, it's a everyday process. So from 1 to 6, repeat this every single day till you master it, till it becomes your second nature, till it becomes part of you.